Perhaps one of the greatest things we can do as a spiritual practice is to see the image of God in each and every person that we encounter. I was reminded of this a number of years ago as I worked at a church and met a man. He stumbled into our church building. I was called to the front, and when I went to meet him, he was passed out in the chair in the office. And one of the most terrible smells I've ever smelled in my life met me. I walked up to him. As I got closer, the smell got stronger and stronger. And it was awful. It was a smell of vomit. It was a smell of vodka. It was the smell of sweat and urine and feces. It was a smell of somebody who'd been dirty for a long time. And my first thought was to get rid of this problem, this man, as soon as I could. And so we called an ambulance to come pick him up because he obviously needed detox. And while we were waiting, he would speak every once in a while, most of the time incoherently. But one time he looked up at me and his eyes were clear. And he said this, and I'll never forget it. He said, "This is not who I am. I'm somebody. This is not who I am." And then he passed out again. But I realized in that moment that this was a human being with a name and with a story, and that I had just encountered an image bearer of Christ. You see, this is what Jesus calls us to in the Sermon on the Mount. He says crazy things like love your enemy. See your enemy as human, as somebody that actually belongs in this world and that is like you. He says things like don't even lust after somebody because that makes them an object, makes them something that is not human, not an image bearer. He says things like don't even call somebody a name, because once they become somebody with no name, it leads to murder, or it leads to considering them not worthwhile. And so Jesus takes this seriously. Michael Frost in one of his books says this. He says, pay attention to the extras in life. When you watch a movie or a TV show, there's extras in the background. They make the movie or the show look right. They may be eating in the background or simply walking down the street. They don't have names, they're not given credit, but they're people. And one thing that he advised us to do as a practice is to see those extras in your life. The people that check you out at the grocery store, the waiter or waitress at a restaurant, the person that helps you in a store, the person walking down the street, the neighbor that you don't see every day. These are all people, and their names are worth knowing. And the more we pay attention to this, the more ministry can happen. And the more we can pray even as we walk down the street. And this discipline or this practice has helped me see people as more human, as more alive, as more of God's children. And it helps me see myself in the same way.